of meekness, of humility, which is not a laying down of our strength, a letting go of our strength, or a denying of it, but instead it's a placing of our strength and our capacity in the hands of God. It's allowing God's will, not ours, to be what governs and directs and moves and shapes the way in which we use the capacities and the strength of our lives. Today we're going to pick up the next 4 Beatitudes, and I'm going to run through them fairly quickly, but I think each one of them is yet another step in the journey of our transformation, another step in the journey of our life in God. The 4th Beatitude is, "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled." Blessed are those who long for, who desire righteousness as though their life depended on it. Now, righteousness is not a word we use very often in our daily vocabulary, unless we're talking about somebody who is self-righteous. That's how we probably use it more often than not. And self-righteousness is absolutely the polar opposite of what righteousness is about. Righteousness is about putting things in right relationship. Putting things in right relationship. In Spanish, the word righteousness is actually translated justicia, or justice. And so if you think about it, righteousness or justice is about when a worker and their employee are not experiencing justice because they're not getting paid adequately for the work that they're doing. And so justice is to put that in right relationship so that the labor offered and the pay offered are in balance with one another. Injustice, when someone steals something from someone else. Righteousness or justice is about restoring that relationship by bringing back to the person what has been lost. Justice, when there are two communities who, because of the color of their skin, are not being treated equally. Justice or righteousness is about bringing up the community that has not been treated well so that they can be treated fairly. Right relationship is restoring the relationship that is broken between two friends, between two lovers, between two spouses, when those relationships have become fractured. Right relationship is what righteousness is all about. It's about restoring our relationship with God when it becomes broken, or when we have become incapable of connecting ourselves with God. It is putting things in proper alignment again. But it doesn't just have to do with our relationships with each other. It also has to do with our relationship with all of creation. When we are not in proper relationship, when we are not acting in righteousness with creation, we destroy it, we abuse it, we pollute it, we don't treat it as we should, we don't care for it as though we were interconnected to it and responsible for it and with it for the survival of all the other living things on this planet. That unjust relationship must be righted. And thank God for the people today who are crying out for us to put that relationship back the way it belongs. John Philip Newell, in his prayer book that is grounded in the Beatitudes, translates this Beatitude as, "Blessed are those who long for the oneness of the earth." And I think that captures the essence of what righteousness is about, because fundamentally the right relationship is when we realize that we are all part of one whole, that we are all part of this one living organism called the earth, that we all share a responsibility to live in and to share and to care for, else we lose it and we are to perish. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for that right relationship of oneness, as though their life depended on it, because frankly, it does. So blessed are they who hunger and thirst for righteousness, but blessed also are the merciful, or the forgiving. John Philip Newell translates this one in a way that I also really love. He says, blessed are the forgiving, because they are free. Blessed are the forgiving, because they are free. Forgiveness lies at the very center of Jesus' life and ministry and teaching. Forgiveness is foundational to his understanding of who he was and what he did. His healings were forms of forgiveness for those who felt completely outcast and shamed because they were considered to be sinful, and that was why they were sick. Jesus responds to the brother who comes to him and says, "Teacher, how many times do I have to forgive my brother who keeps treating me badly? 7 times? And Jesus says, how about 70 times 7 times? Which was essentially to say you need to live your life as a forgiving person. Don't keep count of how many times you forgive. Because fundamentally, forgiveness is about setting yourself free. It is not about allowing someone to get away with something. It's about not allowing the past to define what your future will be. It's about not allowing injuries that have occurred to continue to wound you day after day after day as you try to move forward in your life. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall experience mercy. Blessed are the forgiving, because they shall be free. Forgiveness was so much at the center of Jesus' life that in his last moments with his disciples, he takes this cup and he offers it to them and he says, "This cup is my lifeblood, which is poured out for you." Why? For the forgiveness of sins. Not just for you, but for everyone. And in his dying moments on the cross, nailed there and taunted and tormented by the people who had just finished torturing him, Jesus looks upon them and he says, not, "God, blast them off this earth, they're so horrible." He says, "No, forgive them, Father, because they do not understand what they're doing." It is not out of malice, but out of ignorance that this has happened. Forgive them. Blessed are the forgiving, for they shall be free. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. I think that comes right after forgiveness for good reason. Because it's only as we are able to release the chains that bind us that we become clear-hearted. It's only as we are able to forgive freely and habitually as a way of life that we can look someone in the face who has wounded us and with a clear heart and clear eyes see the face of Jesus and not just the face of the person who hurt them. You cannot see with that kind of clarity if you continue to harbor and hunker down into the things that have wounded you. The only way we get a clear and pure heart, which enables us to see God everywhere and in everyone, is when we learn to forgive. But what a blessing it is to be clear of heart, unburdened by guilt and unburdened by the woundings of others. What a blessing it is to be able to walk without carrying those clanking chains around with us day after day. What a blessing it is to be able to look into the eyes even of the ones who have injured us deeply and say, "I can love you. I can see God in you. Even if it's not the part of you that wounded me, somewhere in there lies the likeness of my God. And finally, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God. It is almost the culminating declaration of the Beatitudes that we, you and I, could be recognizable as children of God because of the way we live in the world. Because we are people who know humbly that they don't know it all. Because we are people who understand that humility is fundamental to our ability to grow and transform into the likeness of Jesus. Because we understand that letting go and releasing things and not hanging on to them as though our happiness depended upon having them always. Living as those who value the preciousness of each moment in each relationship. Living as those who are able to submit our will to the will of God. Living as those who are able to seek the unity and the oneness of all that is, because we know it all flows from God, and God has been dwelling in all of it, and we can find God in it if we can learn to forgive and release and let go and live with clear eyes that see the presence of the Holy One in everyone that surrounds us. Then we indeed become peacemakers. We become those who create peace wherever we go. We become those who live in peace on a day-to-day basis. We become those who show the world what it means to be a child of the Creator. Friends, the Beatitudes are a compressed and concentrated set of ways of being in the world that are utterly transformational. And if you don't read any other piece of Scripture, if you can hold these pieces and let them become the nugget of your spiritual journey and your spiritual challenge, they will unquestionably transform you. My hope is that as we journey deeper into the Sermon on the Mount, these Beatitudes will continue to echo and resound within us, that we may continue to move from those who think themselves righteous in their own doing to those who discover in humility their need for God, those who discover their capacity to offer forgiveness for their own freedom, those who are able to hunger and thirst for ways to connect us to one another, that we may become the peaceable children of God, visible for the world. Let us pray. Amoroso Dios, por las formas concretas en que tú extiendes a nosotros la oportunidad de crecer y transformar nuestras vidas en vidas pacíficas, capaces de crear la paz en el mundo a través de nuestro comportamiento. Concédenos esa gracia que pedimos por Cristo nuestro Señor. Amén. Lila, will you come sing?